Hi, and welcome back to the Spooky Scary Podcast.
Hello!
I'm Kath.
And I'm Chris.
And today we're talking about...
serial killers. Mine's like a really obvious one. I'm doing the Golden State Killer just because, like, duh.
Obviously, that's the serial killer I'm choosing.
Yeah, like, very stereotypical serial killer. So,
I've actually never heard of this.
Oh, God.
So, inform me.
Gladly. So, he was also known as the East Area Rapist and the original Night Stalker. He's believed to have murdered 12 people, committed 45 sexual assaults, and robbed 120 residencies in 10 years.
I love an assat.
Stop. It was done in the Pacific Northwest from 1976 to 1986, and for a while, like, they couldn't catch him. Mm-hmm. Like, they didn't catch him until last year, which I'll talk about in a little bit.
Really? But
yeah.
his, like, last killing was in the 80s? Mm-hmm. Damn.
So, okay. His first rape that they know of was June in 1976, mm-hmm. which a young woman in Sacramento, he snuck into her home in the middle of the night and raped her. Within a month, he did it again, but this time a teenage girl.
Oh.
The victims would be women at home alone or with their families, and then later he started targeting couples who he would, like, force women at knife or gunpoint to, like, do what he wants, which usually would include tying up their significant others with, like, shoelaces or things that he brought with him. Like, he was like,
bring ropes and
here,
stuff?
yeah, he's like, here, tie him up. But he'd always break in the middle of the night, wearing a ski mask, would pry open windows and doors and enter the bedroom, shining a flashlight into their eyes. He then tied them up, or forced them to tie each other up, depending on, and then would stack things on top of the male's back, like their partner's back, mm-hmm. and would threaten to kill everyone if they fell. Like, he would look plates or teacups or stuff on their back, and he's like, if they fall, I kill you.
So he would have to stay, like, completely still while he did, like, whatever he wanted to the girl.
And so he would also, like, steal things from their house, like food, cash. He would, like, make themselves a sandwich. Mm-hmm. It's really fucking weird.
Like, I'm gonna brutalize you, but wait, I want a sandwich first, I'm fucking hungry.
And it was, like, he had this, like, really creepy thing that people would describe where he would, like come out of the shadows. I did air quotes around that. You can't see that because this is a podcast. But, so, like, he'd be, like, silent as fuck in the house. And so people would assume that he was gone, like, after, like, they'd rape him, or he'd rape them or whatever. Like, mm-hmm. They would assume he'd left. And then, like, hours later, they'd go to move, and he goes, don't move. And so, like, he'd still be in there the whole time, like, in the bedroom. Yeah, it was really creepy. And sometimes, like, he would also call victims on the phone.
Like, after he fucked with them?
Yeah, after assaulting them and stuff. Like, he would, like, several survivors remember, like, getting wrong number or hang-up calls shortly before they were attacked or after. And one time, a rape victim reported, like, a raspy voice saying, gonna kill you. Which I guess they didn't do.
Yeah, or unless that was... Oh, I guess they couldn't... Never mind. I was like, oh, you can't be a witness to something that killed you.
And then, so he continued to rape and burglarize homes, and then the police started to catch up to him because, like, they learned his MO. Mm-hmm. Within the 2 years of his, like, first known rape, he killed a couple, Brian and Katie, not gonna say their last name because I'll butcher it, in 1978, Maggiore? Magoo?
I don't know what you're reading from, but Maggiore and Magoo don't sound anything alike. Oh, I also have no idea how to say that.
Okay, so, cool. They were walking their dog one night when they were chased down and shot to death. Which they believe it was because, like, they saw him and, like, saw his face and to protect his identity. Like, he killed mm-hmm. both of them. This kept going until 81. He even bludgeoned a couple to death with wood from their fireplace.
Ouch.
Yeah. And so, like...
The Splinters. I'm sorry. On top of the whole, dying part.
Yeah, but the Splinters.
Yeah.
Makes it worse until you die. And so this crime stopped from 81 up until May of 1986 when he committed what everyone believes was his final killing, which was the rape body of an 18-year-old girl found in Irvine, California. Mm-hmm. Sure. So, then, from then on, from 86 until last year... Mm-hmm. They couldn't catch him. They had DNA evidence, but could never link it to anyone, and they were like, cool.
Damn.
Yeah. So, in 2016, the hunt for him, like, revived, and they're like, we gotta find this motherfucker. And so Sacramento County District Attorney Anne Marie Schubert, I love that, it's a fun name.
Schubert?
Yeah. Created a task force to help find him. They offered a $50,000 reward for any information leading to the arrest and conviction of him.
I love a good task force.
Right? And so they used DNA evidence from a genealogy website to help track down ancestors, who then helped narrow down the pool of suspects, which led them to him.
So you're telling me they found this dude with fucking 23andMe?
I don't think it was that one specifically, but yes. It was really crazy because Paul Holes is one of the guys, the lead investigators in this whole thing, and this case was one of his biggest cases. He worked on the majority of his career, and he retired a week
before
they
found
caught
him.
him. Yeah, which at this point they already knew who he was.
Oh, okay.
They knew it was him. They just needed the proof. And he says in an interview that he last night before his retirement, yeah. He sat outside the guy's house and was like, I could just go inside right now and ask for a DNA sample. He's like, I could end this. I could just go in there and ask him to swab his cheek and it'd be over. And he was like, but we don't know how hostile he is. Obviously he killed tons of people, whatever.
Murdered.
Yeah, he's like, so I didn't want to die, so I didn't. And then a few days later, he got a phone call when he was out to dinner with his wife that they arrested him.
Low-key, I thought you were going to say he got a phone call when he was out to dinner with his wife and it was from the guy. That's what happened in a movie.
My god.
You said he called people.
Yeah, so...
Have you ever seen Death Note? I'm going on a tangent.
The anime or the Netflix adaptation?
Not the Netflix adaptation.
I have watched a few episodes of it, yes.
We don't talk about the Netflix adaptation.
Yeah, I've heard the Netflix adaptation is really bad.
Yeah, it's not good. In the anime, well, also the manga, it's basically it follows the killer, but then the whole show is basically a showdown between him and the lead detective, but he ends up he becomes friends with the lead detective and then joins the task force. So he's on the task force that's trying to catch him.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, for some reason, whenever I think of task force and stuff, my brain is
Death Note.
They're on it.
So Joseph James D'Angelo was a police officer in California who later got identified as the East Area Rapist, Night Stalker, and...
So it was kind of relevant because he was a police officer.
They do believe that sometimes some of his crimes were while he was still a police officer. They believe he was still doing it while he was a police officer. He got removed from the force because he was shoplifting. They tested his DNA from his car door handle and his trash can that sat outside, and that's how they matched it with the familial evidence and the DNA that was left at crime scenes. And on April 24th, 2018, he was arrested by the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. He was charged with 13 counts of first-degree murder as well as 13 counts of kidnapping. Due to California statute of limitations, he cannot be charged with any of the raping or burglary that he did because...
I feel the statute of limitations on rape is way too short.
Oh, 100%. So he's currently still going through trial. It's said to last 10 years and cost $20 million in tax dollars.
The trial?
With his next court date being April 10th, 2019, which just passed.
Oh.
So maybe he's in jail. I mean, he's definitely in jail, but maybe he's guilty. I mean, he's definitely guilty. But maybe the jury decided that.
You can Google.
It's also crazy. One thing that they said was not odd about him, but it was the fact that whenever they canvassed him for a while, they watched this man for a very long time, and they said he was he didn't act as how a 70-year-old man would act. He was very active, rode a motorcycle, was constantly doing yard work, etc. Very active old man. And in the day, when he was in court, he came in a wheelchair.
Oh.
And he's also still saying he's not guilty. He's trying to pretend he didn't do it. Which I'm sorry. First of all, don't fucking kill people. Well, rule number 1.
Yeah, that's
don't do that. However, if you are going to, fucking don't be a pussy and own up to it. Like if I have the guts to sit here and murder 13 people, yeah. I'm gonna fucking be like, yeah, bitch, it was me.
What if it wasn't him?
No, it is.
No, I know
it's like 100% him.
I was just watching The Flash, and I'm sorry I keep going on tangents, but that's the whole point of the podcast, isn't it? That there was just an episode that I was watching where basically the Flash gets he gets like framed for a murder, and then he's like in jail.
How do you frame a superhero?
I don't want to like spoil things, but
I promise you I'm never gonna watch The Flash.
What if some of our listeners watched you know what, it was last season, I'll explain. Anyway, so I'll explain like shortly. I'm not gonna like take up the whole episode talking about the murder that happened with the Flash, but essentially he was like in a battle with this guy who had like super intellect, but like Barry, who's the Flash, like knew he was like guilty of something, but like nobody believed him because he was just this like kind of old feeble man in a wheelchair, and he was like, I know he did something. So he like went to his house to like get information, and then like showed up at his work to like talk to him more, and then he actually broke into his house because he was like, he found out that they had cameras watching him, so he was like trying to find the source of the cameras.
Good.
But then the old man like had security footage of him in his house and got like a restraining order against him, so he like laid a paper trail of proof that like Barry was harassing him. And then it's kind of complicated, but basically he transferred his consciousness into a different body, so that he took his then dead body, stabbed it with one of Barry's knives, and then threw it into Barry's apartment. So Barry showed up and like found the dead body and then got arrested for the murder. And then there was like a paper trail being like, he had a restraining order against you, etc. So he was framed for this murder, and like all fingers pointed to him being guilty, but like he couldn't explain that he was innocent because he didn't want to tell them that he was the Flash.
Fair. So
what if this man is the Flash? I'm kidding. No, he's a bad man, not the Flash.
Speaking of tangents, real quick. Mm-hmm. PSA, don't be a fucking asshole who sells fake tickets for musicals online.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Do you want to tell your little story about...
So, I have been so excited to go see Dear Evan Hansen for months. I bought tickets like back in January. I've been so fucking psyched for this show. And I go there last night, and my ticket doesn't work. Because whoever sold me my ticket sold it to me, but then got to the show earlier than I did, and still used the ticket they sold me.
So that's what happened.
Because it says ticket not found, meaning the ticket was already scanned in. So whoever had my ticket sold it, but kept it. Because like it was just a digital download, so they kept the ticket and then came right before me.
So they could sell as many digital, like
pretty
as many copies of their ticket.
Yeah, and as long as they got there earlier than everyone, then
they could still use it.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
I mean, like I got my money back, and like StubHub was like really nice about the whole thing, and they were like very helpful. They tried to make it to where I saw the show. Unfortunately, it's just a very popular musical, and there weren't any other tickets to buy. Yeah. But yeah. So whoever that asshole is, fuck you, fuck your mom, fuck your dog, because I wanted to really see that show and now I can't. So you're an ass. It's fine. I was gonna go see it on Sunday, but I work. So
no, it sucks though. We hate a scammer.
But on the bright side, I now have $200 more in my bank account. So.
That's true.
And I bought clothes. So who really loses? Me still. Still me. All right.
Technically, StubHub loses if we're, like, talking monetarily.
I mean, theoretically, but also, like, I got a full refund. The only thing I paid, like, StubHub only got, like, a small portion of it because, like, they got the fees. Like, the ticket price itself was still the ticket price that would have been on Dr. Phillips Center. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, StubHub only lost, like, $50.
Oh.
I don't think StubHub makes a lot of money off of their tickets. I think it's more so just, like...
Well, that's because I'm saying StubHub is who gave you the $200 back.
Right.
So I was saying StubHub's who lost.
I hope the other guy lost the money that he got paid. I hope it were like taken out of his account.
I don't know if they can do that though.
They probably could. Like if they could probably like launch an investigation against him or
probably.
Her, because like it's an illegal thing they did, and so like they could fine them. Or at the very least, they can't sell it on StubHub anymore. Which is good. Fuck you.
Are you done talking about the Golden State Killer?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
He's a bad man.
He's a bad man. He was arrested. I couldn't figure out if he, like, what happened with his sentencing. Like, his Wikipedia has not been updated yet. But
that's homophobic.
He's probably homophobic.
More than likely, he killed people. I just assume murderers are homophobic.
That makes sense.
It'd be kind of depressing if, like...
Jeffrey Dahmer, though.
Yeah.
He's the minority.
He's the outlier.
That's true.
I kind of assume if you kill people, you kind of hate everyone, you know?
Yeah.
That's a good consensus. I think that's a good observation. Generalization, that's what I meant.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. I don't know. I don't know that much about the mind of serial killers. That's what we're trying to...
There's a Netflix show about it.
What? Which one? Is it Criminal Minds?
No, it's like...
Oh, Mindhunter?
Yeah.
I haven't watched it, but I need to watch it because it has,
Sorry, I just saw a video of somebody drinking a bottle of soap, and now I'm, deeply offended.
Okay, anyway, let's get back on topic. My serial killer, well, he's not mine, but the serial killer that I will be covering...
I own him.
...is the son of Sam Killer, formerly known as the 44 caliber killer. He killed 6 people and wounded 7 more over the course of 1 year.
Oh my god, impressive.
So, let's go back in time to 1953. There was a woman named Betty Broder who got pregnant, and the father of her child was a guy named Joseph Kleinman, and she was dating him, but she was like his mistress, like he was married.
Oh, good.
And she got pregnant. So, to pretend the baby wasn't his, she kept it, but gave it the last name of her previous husband.
Interesting.
If that makes any sense. So the baby was born on June 1st, 1953, and he was named Richard David Falco. Falco being the surname of her ex-husband,
right.
Not the father of the baby. For unknown reasons, probably pressure from the baby daddy, Betty gave the baby up for adoption a few days later, and his adoptive parents changed his name to David Richard Berkowitz. So they switched his first and middle name. I don't know why. I feel like that is just a weird thing. Maybe it's subconsciously added to his fucked up psyche.
Probably.
Anyway, he was like a pretty smart kid, but he didn't really try in school.
Me.
He was considered like a troublemaker. People called him a bully, and they said he was spoiled. And when he was like in his like preteens, he would shoplift and start fires and stuff, but he was never like arrested or like charges were never put against him. And his mom, his adoptive mom, died when he was 14, and then he didn't really get along much with his adopted father, so he sort of just was kind of distant from his family. And then in 1971, he joined the army, and then after he got out of the army, he found out that he was adopted and located his birth mother. And then, so finding out...
this whole time he didn't know he was adopted?
He didn't know that he was adopted.
Good.
And then, so when he did find out he was adopted, because his original last name was Falco, he thought that his first dad was the first husband.
Right.
If that makes sense. So then, like, once he tracked down his mom and then found out that, like, the first dad, he wasn't even his dad, and then his like actual dad didn't want him, and then his adoptive dad didn't really like him either. Like having like that.
It's like I'm 0 for 3 with dads right now.
Yeah, like having all these dads not really like him or even care to know who he is, kind of like
fucked his head up a little bit.
Yeah,
understandably.
He wasn't super jazzed about all that, and he had some abandonment issues.
Same.
In 1976, one of his friends from the army bought him a .22 caliber Bulldog gun, which was used in all but one of the attacks. Actually,
that doesn't sound safe.
I think it's a .44 caliber. I typed that wrong. Anyway,
I was like, it would make sense. The .44 caliber killer would not use a .22 caliber gun.
Yeah, my bad. Anyway, so the first attack actually that he committed was on Christmas Eve of 1975.
That's a shitty Christmas present.
Yeah. There was only one victim identified. It was a teenager named Michelle Foreman who had been hospitalized after she was stabbed. And then there was another victim, but basically this attack was never attributed to him originally because he killed the one girl and wounded the other girl with a hunting knife.
Yeah, not a gun.
Yeah, but he was only attributed to it after he was caught, and then he confessed to that. Anyway, so the killing spree of the .44 caliber killer began in the summer of 1976 in New York City. The first shooting was in the Bronx at about 1 a.m. And I'm kind of going to go... I feel like a lot of the times when people talk about, like, serial killers or, like, murderers and stuff like that, they talk a lot about, like, the killer and the murderer, and then they just are like, oh, and 6 people died. And they, like, don't say who the people are. So I, like, actually was... Because, I mean, like, I don't want to say only 6 people, because, like, this is a lot of people to kill, but, like, it's still not so many that I can't list them all. Fair. So I actually have, like, information about all of the, like, killings. Anyway, so the first shooting was in the Bronx at, like, 1 a.m. There were 2 girls, Donna and Jody, who were 18 and 19, and they were parked in their car talking, you know how you do.
All the time.
Yeah. Chilling with some Taco Bell, except that it was 1976, so they probably didn't have Taco Bell.
I think Taco Bell existed in 76.
Really?
Yeah, probably.
So they might have had Taco Bell. Anyway, so Donna opened her car door to get out, and then she saw a man running at them with a paper bag. You know how, like, you have the paper bag and the gun's inside the paper bag? So then she tried to pull the car door closed really fast, but he shot in the car 3 times, and then he ran off into a yellow car and left. One of the shots killed Donna, one missed both of them, and then the last one hit Jody in the leg. So Jody was a witness, and she was able to, like...
That makes sense. I'm like, how do they know it was a yellow car? They both died. Never mind. She was just wounded.
And then a similar incident occurred 3 months later in Queens. There was a man named Carl, who was 20, and his girlfriend, Rosemary, who was 18, and they were sitting in his car when suddenly the windows shattered. Carl quickly drove away and they didn't see the shooter, but after they escaped, they realized they both had injuries. Rosemary had some injuries from the broken glass, but Carl had been shot in the head. He survived, but he did have to have part of his skull replaced with a metal plate, and they were able to ID the bullets as being from the .44 caliber. Maybe it's a .22 caliber killer. Am I just stupid? Pause. No, it's .44 caliber. Why have I been typing .22 caliber? I don't know. Anyway. So they were able to ID... Yeah, they were able to ID the gun, but they didn't connect it to the other killer because they were in different boroughs and they have, like, different...
Yeah, precincts.
Yeah. But Carl had, like, long hair, because it was the 70s. And it was later suspected that he was mistaken
for a woman
from a distance.
So his MO was girls.
Yeah, specifically girls with long brown hair.
Good.
Soon after that, in November, 2 girls who were 16 and 18, named Donna and Joanne, they were walking home from a movie in Queens, and they were, like, standing outside on the porch when a man in military clothes approached them and started asking for directions, but, like, before he could even finish what he was asking, he pulled out a gun and shot them multiple times before just running away.
Good.
Both of them were injured, but they both actually survived.
Oh, shit. All right.
So, not a good closer. He, like, isn't very good at actually killing people.
Clearly, yeah.
Yeah. So, about 2 months later, in January this time, there was a woman named Christine and her fiancé, John, and they were parked in their car in Queens. At about 1 a.m., their car was shot at 3 times. John drove away without seeing the attacker, and he was injured, but his fiancée was shot twice and died in the hospital.
Oh, damn.
But the thing about this one was that it was very similar to the other ones, you know, like in a parked car shot at 3 times, 1 a.m. So this is the first, like, incident that the police actually began to, like, connect the incidents, you know? And,
right.
The difference was, though, that they thought they were dealing with multiple suspects because some of the people had ID'd him as being a man with brown hair, and some people had ID'd him as a man with blonde hair.
Was he dyeing his hair? Does he have a wig?
Just wait.
Oh, God.
So, a couple months later, in March, a 19-year-old girl named Virginia was walking home from her class at Columbia, and she lived about a block from where the last shooting had taken place, and then she was confronted by an armed man at about 7:30 p.m., and she was shot and killed. Then, at about, this was the next month in April, so he basically killed, like, he went on a killing excursion once a month, basically.
Same, yeah, gotta, like, space it out.
Get your once a month murder in. So, this was about 3 a.m. in April. A guy named Alexander, who was 20, and Valentina, who was 18, they were sitting in Valentina's car in the Bronx, and they were each shot twice in the car. Valentina died at the scene, but Alexander died at the hospital later, and he was not able to identify the attacker. So at this point, it just kind of was like, they knew that they were similar attacks, but they, like, had different people were IDing different people, and,
So a few people had actually gotten enough of, like, description details for them to be like, maybe it's connected, maybe some random people are just killing everyone in cars.
Yeah, so at this point, they were just like, the police were basically like, I don't know.
People are dying.
People keep dying in their cars. Don't sit in your car at midnight, I guess.
I mean, that's good advice.
Yeah. But then, after that last attack, is when the police began to look for a serial killer, because Alexander and Valentina both had handwritten letters left on their bodies inside the car.
Don't like that.
And basically it was this handwritten letter by a guy calling himself Son of Sam. Up until this point, people had been calling him the .44 caliber killer.
Because of the gun.
Yeah, but then Son of Sam replaced that because that's what he was calling himself. And the letter was super weird. I read it. It's on Wikipedia if you guys want to read it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, though. But it was full of, like, misspelled words, and in it he's, like, referring to himself as a monster, but he's also, like, taunting the police, being like, if you want to stop me, you have to kill me. And he's saying, like, somebody named Father Sam keeps him locked up, and he has to keep killing people to keep Sam happy. That's basically what the letter says. And then on May 30th, another letter, so this is about a month later, again, another letter was sent to a daily news columnist named Jimmy Breslin, and it was, like, basically the same letter as before, but this time it was, like, more sophisticatedly written.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't, like, weird words and stuff. And the first letter was, like, the way it was written was so weird that the police started looking for Scottish people, because they thought, I don't even really know, they basically, like, thought whoever was writing it was, like, writing in, like, old Scottish.
So
the police were, like, basically all over the place.
Fair.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably why he did it.
That makes sense.
So I'm gonna fuck these bitches a little bit more before they can catch me.
Yeah, but then this letter was written basically, like, just in normal English, but it was basically saying the same thing, like, I have to kill people to keep Sam happy, etc. And so after giving the letter to the police and stuff, the Daily News was allowed to publish the letter, and they sold over 1 million copies of that letter, like, of that newspaper, and it, like, detailed all the stuff about the killer. And because the victims all had long dark hair, a lot of women began chopping their hair off.
Oh my God.
Beauty supply stores, like, ran out of blonde hair dye for, like, that whole year. Like, it was a whole thing. Like, there was a whole, like, New York-wide shortage of blonde hair dye.
Oh my God.
Okay. So, then in June 26th, so now we're back around to June, Sal Lupo, who was 20, and Judy Placido, who was 17, were, again, sitting in a parked car around 3 a.m. in Queens when their car was shot at 3 times. Both of them survived. Lupo identified the shooter as blonde, but eyewitnesses said they saw a dark-haired man leaving the scene. So the police were surveying the Bronx and Queens because that's where the attacks had taken place, but the last attack took place in Brooklyn. A girl named Stacy and a guy named Robert, who were both 20, were in Robert's car, which was parked at a streetlight. A man shot in their car 4 times. Robert was killed, and Stacy suffered serious injuries, including losing her vision, but she survived.
Oh, good.
The difference with this attack versus the other ones was that this one had a shit ton of eyewitnesses, basically.
I mean, he was under a street lamp.
Yes. So there was a man walking his dog and another man parked in the same parking lot who witnessed the entire attack, and both said that the shooter was blonde, but it looked like a cheap wig.
Good. We love dollar store wigs.
Yeah. Another woman saw a man with dark hair running away from the crime scene and drive away in a yellow Volkswagen. Another man about 30 minutes later was driving when he saw a yellow Volkswagen speed through a red light, and he followed the car and then gave a police report about where it went. So the police began investigating every car that fit the description of, like, a yellow Volkswagen.
Right.
Including Berkowitz's car. So they found his car and they saw a rifle in the back seat, searched the car, found a duffel bag filled with ammo, maps of the crime scenes, and a threatening letter addressed to the leader of the task force. And the police then searched his apartment, found it basically really fucked up. It had satanic graffiti all over the walls.
Same.
And they also found diaries he'd kept for years. Basically where he kept note of all of the arsons that he had done over the years, and police estimated it was probably over 1,000.
Jesus.
Yeah. They arrested him. He confessed to the crime in under 30 minutes, and he told the police that Sam was his neighbor Sam, and that Sam's black lab, the dog, was possessed by a demon who told him to kill women. And that's what he was talking about in his letters, is that his neighbor's dog was forcing him to kill people. Despite that, and he had an outburst at his first trial where he tried to jump out the window. He was found competent enough to withstand trial, so he wasn't allowed to plead insanity.
Yeah.
And he was convicted and sentenced 25 years to life for each victim.
Damn.
A few years later, he came forward and said that the demon story was a hoax and that he was just killing people because he was mad at the world. But then recently, he converted to Christianity and said that he actually didn't kill most of those people. He only killed a couple of them, and that he was involved in a satanic cult, and that the other murders were committed by other cult members. But the investigators didn't really look into this because they basically just think he's a crazy person.
Fair.
But there are a bunch of conspiracy theorists who think that it was just a bunch of cult killings and that there are still a bunch of murderers out there.
I mean, it would make sense on one hand because of all the satanic shit that was on his walls, but at the same time, if there were other killers, they wouldn't have stopped.
Yeah, you're right. Unless they wanted to just pin all the blame on him.
Yeah, well, because once one person gets caught, if the killing starts up again, obviously they're like, oh shit, we got the wrong guy, let's keep looking.
Yeah. And a lot of people think, though, that he knew that the police was on his tail, so that's why he painted all the
satanic shit?
Satanic shit and started writing those letters because he wanted to make himself seem crazy so that he could plead insanity.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the coming back later, had he stuck that story the whole time, I didn't kill all of them, then it'd be one thing. Mm-hmm. It wasn't me, I was in a cult, the other people did it, but for him to confess, yeah, it was me, blah, 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 and then later be just kidding, someone else did it too.
Yeah, especially because he confessed to it saying he was basically crazy and that a demon told him to do it, and then he was yeah, I killed all those people, but it wasn't a demon, I'm just fucking angry at the world.
And then
to be
a satanic cult helped.
Yeah.
So, no, I think he was just you know what, fuck the world, I'm gonna kill these people, and then, while he was in prison, he's damn, I killed people, I don't want to be in jail anymore.
Yeah.
I want to go to retrial. Even if you went to retrial, you still killed 3 people, that's enough to keep you in jail for the rest of your life, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
He's gonna die in jail, that's good.
Yeah.
He deserves to. Is he still alive?
No.
Oh, shit, never mind. He died in jail, good. So
he did die in jail.
Okay, he got it deserved. Either way, I was
No, wait. No, he's alive.
I was gonna say, that was in the 80s, wasn't it?
It
or
was
the 70s? So yeah, he should still be alive. Unless he, killed himself in jail.
Yeah, he's still alive. He's 65.
Good. Die. Not yet. Take your time.
Oh, he wrote a book.
Of course he did.
Called Son of Hope.
Oh, of course.
He's the son of Sam Killer.
Yeah, but now he's a Christian.
Oh, because that's what he calls himself now because he's a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
He calls himself the Son of Hope. That doesn't seem like a great name for a murderer.
No, it really doesn't.
You do you.
He's got a 3 out of 5 on 3.8 out of 5 on Goodreads, so like maybe it's a good book. I guess people are
enjoying maybe he's like a good writer.
Let's read some of the reviews.
Okay,
The Prison Journals of David Berkowitz.
Oh, it only has 4 ratings.
And 0 reviews. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Okay, so it has 3.75 stars, but it's out of 4 people. Our podcast has 5 stars out of 2 reviews.
So we're doing better than this book.
So if you
hopefully it stays that way.
If you happen to listen to this and you want to give us a 5-star rating,
we want to be doing better than the Son of Hope on Goodreads.
Yes, that's our goal, truly.
What a way to end this episode.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed these stories of serial killers,
stay tuned for next week where we talk about people who went missing and have never been found.
Oh, I found mine are about people who have been found.
Mine are not.
So if you want to hear about people who have gone missing and may or may not have been found,
stay tuned for next week. That's Kath.
That's Chris.
And we'll see you on the next episode. Or if this is the last episode you listen to, bye, I guess.
Stay spooky, y'all.